Hello and welcome to Tune In with MPSCS. I'm Tim Lee. I'm a Deputy Director and Manager of the IT and Network Operations section for the Michigan Public Safety Communications System, also known as MPSCS. As we celebrate the 30th anniversary of MPSCS, I'm excited to welcome a very special guest, someone who experienced the early days of our statewide radio communications transition firsthand. Joining us today is retired Michigan State Police Trooper Dave Service. Dave Service brings a wealth of experience from his time with Michigan State Police, including his involvement during the pivotal 1995 switchover to the statewide communications system. We're going to be going into the history, his reflections, and how it kind of shaped public safety communications with MPSCS works in Michigan today. Trooper Dave Service started with the Michigan State Police from what year did you start it?
May 1973.
1973. And you were stationed at what post?
Jackson.
At the Jackson post. That was your first post?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the recruit school that you graduated from?
That was the 85th.
85th recruit school. And was that at the that would have been at the original training academy out underneath the state police headquarters there at MSU?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. And they actually had the pool out there too as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. I've only seen pictures, you know what I mean? It wasn't there when I was there. It was just state police headquarters, and it's all gone now. So, but in any case, sorry, I digress there. But thanks for being here. We really appreciate it, and thanks for coming out here. So, appreciate it.
Certainly welcome.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, where do you live? Your family?
Well, I live in DeWitt, Michigan, and have 4 children. 2 of them live in, one's employed by the Detroit Tigers, and the other one's employed by the University of Alabama.
Wow.
And then my youngest grandson lives in New York City.
Okay. Well, yeah. And as we were talking about before even the interview started, you've had how many people in the Service family that have been in the Michigan State Police? So 4?
4 of us, yes.
4? Okay. So your dad, yourself, and then your son and his wife.
Right.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. So, and as you said, you add it all up and it was 109 years of service for everybody.
Yes.
Wow. That's incredible. That's really cool. So, I know this a little bit from what you've told us already, but you know, what do you like do for fun, or what do you do now that you're retired?
I volunteer at the Capital Area Humane Society on Grand River there. And I've been doing that since before I left the department.
Wow.
But not to the extent that I am now.
And you're volunteering there 6 days a week, you said?
Yes.
Wow. And you're working with, you know, all the kind of animals that are like abused and
primarily cats.
Cats
and
okay.
Kittens.
Wow. You must get a lot of them in there, I would assume.
It's kitten season right now.
Oh, so this is like the heavy time of year where you get a lot of cats in?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy. I mean, that's great that you're doing that. I mean, it's so needed, and it's such a, you know, unfortunately area. But can you let me know, what led you to go into, you know, policing? What made you want to become a state trooper?
Well, if we go to my 1960 yearbook at Sexton High School, it has my photograph as a senior, and underneath it said State Police. Wow, that's great. And then I went on and didn't consider it really. I got a job as a grocer in the Schmidt's chain that was here in Lansing.
Okay.
And there was one night I met up with some deputies who were doing night patrol, and I was taking out the trash from the building that I was working in. Got talking with them and told them that I was going to school and it was difficult to do that midnight stuff. And they said, well, come on out and apply at the Lansing Township Police Department. And I did. And they sent me right through. I had to go to a training session that was at the Sheriff Department once a week. and it was for 4 hours at a crack, and that's where we got our basic information and techniques and things that an officer would use.
Wow.
And I was there with Lansing Township for 6 years. I took a job then with LS Good, which is J.W. Knapp Company in Lansing. And I was the manager for the security system that they had there in the Meridian Mall in downtown Lansing.
Okay.
And they had 2 other stores, one in Flint and one in Battle Creek, but I wasn't interested in doing a lot of driving. So
Yeah.
then I applied in early 73, and Trooper Al Kish did my background investigation for me. And his dad is Tom Kish, who was there till when I left the department. He was the final word of carrying me around to the director's office and that kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So it was neat that there was a connection between those two and my career.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Jackson for 5 years. Got transferred to Northville when they had the big freeway build up down there. Then Lansing, and then several subordinate things. I did the governor's detail in Benton Harbor, taught at the training academy as temporary and
Right.
staff. And
Yeah, we taught together at the training academy during the 115th recruit school,
Yes.
I believe, right?
Yes.
Yep.
so there's another connection.
Yeah. It seems like so long ago, and I see a lot of those troopers around that we taught in that school, and it's like I cannot believe they're as old as they are because they just seem like kids when we were teaching them.
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow. I know, time just goes by so fast. Right now we're going to take a little bit of break, and then when we come back, we're going to chat about kind of the shift going from the old radio system to the new MPSCS system and kind of how it changed public safety, communications, and interoperability. So.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Regardless of what you have seen or heard, 911 cannot locate you immediately when calling from a cell phone. Knowing your location is very important when calling. This is as simple as knowing the address you're calling from, teaching address information to children, and knowing what street you are on while traveling. Know your location.
Welcome back to our podcast. We have with us retired Michigan State Trooper Dave Service. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Dave. Again, you and I were both around when the state of Michigan made the investment into its infrastructure that provided the statewide radio communications for first responders.
Yes.
Again, it started out with Michigan State Police first, and then they moved, separately to their own entity right now. For me, one of my memories, my first post was the Adrian post that I went to when I got out of the training academy. And I had in that car, in the patrol car, I had a state radio, a county radio, a city radio, and then I also had a CB radio that we basically bought ourselves that we would put in there so we could hear what the truckers were saying, and they would call out for Smokey Bear, you know what I mean, and ask us to, respond if there was an accident or somebody was driving drunk or whatever like that. So I remember that. Do you remember what it was like, prior to having the one single system in your car?
It was quite different. There wasn't any added on responsibilities, I guess you'd call it. Well, we had the basic 4-channel, channel 1 at Jackson being the main channel, and then we had 2 car to car. 3 was district, and I never knew what the 4th was channel was. They didn't use it, so I
Gotcha.
don't know what it was, but
Wow, only 4 channels. Wow, that is crazy.
and that was all state. There were no county radios. They eventually put in a scanner that we could hear what the county was doing, but there wasn't any dispatch capabilities.
Right, and you could only hear what the county was doing. You couldn't talk on that radio system or anything like that.
Right.
So if you wanted to get a county response or somebody to like back you up or whatever, you had to call the state dispatch, right? And they would
Yes.
have to relay to the county. What a delay.
And it was done by a desk sergeant at the post. It was always, whoever was at the post was the ones that dispatched. It didn't have a central dispatch yet.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to believe, it's definitely changed so much in such a, it's really just accelerated so fast, but wow. So if you needed backup or you were on a chase or whatever, you're calling the sergeant at the desk, and then that sergeant has to call out to the county or the city or anybody else to help respond to you.
Yes.
And even still, if they were responding, they still couldn't talk to you.
Right.
Wow. Wow, it's just crazy. When finally in 95, when they started rolling it out into the different, do you remember kind of getting that first radio as opposed to the old one where you were like the 4-channel system versus, the new digital radios?
I remember it coming in and I was skeptical. And
Sure,
there was a lot of stuff that was available, but at that time they didn't come and say, okay, you got this many channels, this is what you can do. It was more of a pick and choose type of thing that we used primarily at the post, but then after a while it began to develop and we had more training and got brought up to speed and started using it. Then we had communications with Jackson Central Dispatch direct.
That was a big change then.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you were out on the road and you were finally able to basically call Jackson Central and get assistance if you needed it,
Yes.
as opposed to the whole relay system before.
Yes.
Wow. It's just crazy to think about how much it's changed, but that was such a huge change. So that's awesome. One thing that became clear, especially on 9/11, obviously, and I know that was a big push because I was at Homeland Security Division when that happened, for 9/11 happened, was the big push for interoperable communications across the state. And, on that day, several fire agencies that couldn't talk to each other when the attack went, police departments couldn't talk to each other, sheriff's departments couldn't talk to each other. They were asking for responders to all come out and everything like that. And interoperable communications became a huge thing. And Michigan was actually ahead of the curve on this because of, MPSCS and, where they really saw the benefits of the kind of that system, coming on. I'm sure you remember 9/11 happened, obviously.
Yes.
And then we actually, I think back then we did send troopers out here from Michigan out to Ground Zero to assist, I believe.
Sure. I don't know. I the first ones that I knew went out were for some of the disasters on the East Coast as far as tides and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That we sent troopers from the Lansing post out there. And there were some other incidents, but prior to that, I don't recall any major, here we go type help.
Right. Do you ever remember kind of like, do you remember any like the first time you were ever able to call like from one district to another?
Yes. That was wonderful because if you were going to go over to Detroit to pick up a prisoner, you had to, first, if you were not on the system, you had to call the post, they had to call ELOP. Then the OK would come down and they'd radio you in the car, and then they had to call over to Ypsilanti to let them know that you were coming, and so it was kind of a mishmash of communication.
I remember how long that took when you sat on the side of the road and you were running a warrant check. And if you got warrants, and especially like you mentioned Detroit didn't always pick up on warrants, but still you had to sit there and wait for the sergeant to call to get a hold of their dispatch down there to see if, that sergeant down there was going to okay the warrant pickup. And then you could, say, where are you going to transport and what was going to go on. That was crazy with no interoperable communications. But yeah, it changed, obviously, when you could go district to district.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, just awesome. Now looking back at your career, and how many years did you have in total?
40.
40 years.
As a trooper.
As a trooper.
Yes.
Wow. That's just awesome. What advice would you give any kind of student looking at a career in law enforcement today? You know what I mean? Or what's, kind of the best advice you ever received, from anyone during your career?
Well, my dad being in the department, so I had kind of an exposure to his job, and then he went into probation after he left the state police. He was with the Ingham County Probation Department. And then thinking about it, but not really acting on it. But when I ran into these two sheriff's deputies on night patrol, got talking to them, and they said I could work nights if I wanted to all the time. And so that kind of got me going. And then I was there for 6 years, and then I went on to LS Good, and then put in my application for the state police. I just loved it.
So obviously your family was heavily invested in the state police. You'd still definitely recommend young kids coming out of college to get in if they can?
Yes, definitely. I finished up my degree in 1969, finally. Then I had it when I went to the state police. I think at that point they were eager to find people with college degrees.
Oh, that's great. Definitely quite the career, that's for sure. That's all the questions we have for today. I want to thank you again for coming in and for helping us to celebrate the 30-year anniversary of MPSCS. So thank you very much, and it's good to see you again, Dave.
Good to see you.
Thank you. You have been listening to Tune In with MPSCS. This has been the MPSCS 30th Anniversary Edition podcast. Be sure to look us up at www.michigan.gov/MPSCS on YouTube, SoundCloud, on X or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at MPSCS. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and Google Podcasts so you never miss an episode. See you next time.